Your kid fell 17 times an hour learning to walk, and you clapped. But now he's learning Taekwondo kicks for beginners, and every fall gets called failure. That word is a lie. By the end, you'll know why. The kids who fall the most learn the fastest, and how to aim every fall.
Tuesday night, 6:40. The dojo is loud with bare feet and the smack of pads. Kai steps up to the kicking pad. He breathes once, turns, spins, and the floor rushes up to meet him. The mat slaps his back. The ceiling lights stare down at him. That's the third fall tonight, and this time he doesn't jump up. He just lies there for one long second. Across the room, the rival lands the same kick like it weighs nothing. The pad pops. Two kids glance over at Kai on the floor. Nobody laughs. Somehow that's worse. After class, Kai carries his bag to the car like it's full of stones. He clicks his seatbelt, stares out the window, and says 7 quiet words. I don't think I'm good at this. And the adults have answers ready. They always do. He needs more practice. Some kids are just built for it. Maybe he should try swimming instead. Every answer sounds reasonable. And every answer is aimed at the wrong target. Because nobody in that car is asking the real question. What does falling actually do to a kid who is learning? Not to his feelings, to the skill itself. To answer that, you have to rewind Kai's life 9 years. Picture him at 1 year old, round cheeks, wobbly legs. He stands in the middle of the living room like a tiny sailor on a rocking boat, arms out, knees shaking. He takes 2 steps. He drops. He gets up. He takes 3 steps. He drops again. In 2012, psychologist Karen Adolph and her team at New York University decided to measure exactly this. They brought babies into their lab and let them do what babies do: play, wander, chase things across the floor. And the whole time, the team counted every single step and every single fall. The numbers are hard to believe. A toddler learning to walk takes about 2,368 steps per hour and falls about 17 times per hour. 17. Every hour, day after day, week after week. By the time walking becomes steady, a child has crashed to the ground thousands of times. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. The falls didn't slow the babies down. Adolph's team watched them hit the floor, get up, and keep going, hour after hour, like the falling was simply part of the job. Because it was. Now think about what happened in Kai's house back then. When baby Kai crashed onto the living room floor, nobody gasped. His mom clapped. His dad held out both hands and said, "Again!" Not one person looked at the fall count and said, maybe walking isn't for him. Why not? Because back then, everyone somehow knew the truth. The falling wasn't in the way of the learning. The falling was the learning. Every crash sent his brain a report. Too far left, too fast, knees too stiff. And his brain quietly rewrote the plan before the next try. Kai has already run this experiment. He won it. Every kid who has ever walked won it. Therefore, the real mystery isn't whether a child can learn by falling. It's what changed between the living room and the dojo. Why does the exact same event, a body meeting the floor, mean learning at age 1 and failure at age 10? 2 things changed. First, Kai grew an audience. A 1-year-old doesn't care who's watching. A 10-year-old feels every pair of eyes in the room. And second, falling started to look like something. It started to look like proof. Hold on to that word, look, because it hides a trap that catches almost every kid and almost every parent standing at the edge of the mat. In 2015, 2 researchers at UCLA, Nicholas Soderstrom and Robert Bjork, published a review of decades of learning studies, and all of them pointed at one uncomfortable idea. Performance and learning are not the same thing. Performance is what you can see today. The kick that lands, the smooth run, the good class. Learning is the change happening underneath, the part that is still there next month when nobody is drilling it. And here is the finding that should be taped to the wall of every dojo on earth. The 2 often move in opposite directions. A practice that looks smooth and easy can leave almost nothing behind. A practice that looks like a mess, slow, clumsy, full of misses, can be the exact hour the skill wires itself in. Bjork had a name for this. going back to his work with Richard Schmidt in 1992. Desirable difficulties. In study after study, learners who practiced under harder, messier conditions scored worse during practice week. They looked like the weaker group. Then the test came days or weeks later, and the messy group won. They remembered more. They transferred the skill to new situations better. The struggle wasn't the price of the learning. The struggle was the machine that built it. Now, be careful with this. It does not mean more falls always equal more skill. A difficulty is desirable when the kid is reaching for something just past the edge of what he can do. Close enough to touch on a good try. Reaching, missing, adjusting, that builds skill. Falling with no target and no idea why just builds frustration. The falls have to point at something. But look at what this does to Kai's Tuesday. 3 falls, chasing a kick that sits right at the edge of his reach. That night may have built more skill than the entire week before, when everything he tried came easy. The skill was forming in the exact minutes that looked the worst. Kai couldn't see that. He graded the night with a performance scorecard, and by that scorecard, he failed. The adults in the car used the same scorecard. They were all reading the wrong gauge, so the falls carry the learning. Fine. But a fall only teaches when the kid's attention is in the right place while it happens. And that raises a very practical question. In the middle of a kick, where should a beginner even be looking? Science has a surprisingly exact answer. For more than 20 years, researcher Chua Wulf has studied one simple question. What should you think about while you move? In 2021, a team led by Rebecca Chua combined 73 studies, more than 1,800 people, into one big answer. It's one of the most consistent findings in all of movement science. People who focus on the target, the pad, the ball, the effect out in the world, learn faster and move better than people who focus on their own body. Thinking about your foot makes the kick worse. Seeing the pad makes it better. Why? Because your body already knows how to organize a movement. It's been doing it since the living room floor. When you stare inward at your own leg, you start micromanaging machinery that runs best on its own. When you lock onto the target, you hand the controls back. And for a beginner, the best target is a close one, not the far wall, the pad right in front of you. Which brings us back to Thursday's class. The instructor watches Kai fall again. He doesn't rush over. He doesn't grab Kai's leg. He doesn't say a single word about the foot, the hip, or the turn. He kneels, lifts the pad, and holds it one hand lower than before. Forget your foot, he says. There is only this. Hit it. The next kick doesn't land, but something is different. The fall is shorter. It points somewhere. Kai is up before the instructor can speak, eyes already back on the pad. At home that week, the corner by the window is waiting, the one that never closes. Kai kicks, wobbles, resets. Kicks, stumbles, resets. And on the couch, his dad changes exactly one sentence. He stops saying, "Careful." He starts saying, "That one was closer." Watch what those 2 small moves did. The instructor gave Kai's attention a home outside his own body. His dad turned each fall from a verdict into a report. Nobody lowered the bar. Nobody promised it would be easy. They just changed what a fall meant. It is an instant. That first Saturday, Kai walks past the corner twice without stopping. That's real too. Old stories don't die in a day. But Sunday afternoon, the pad catches his eye on the way to the kitchen, and he's kicking before the old story can vote. 2 weeks pass. Kai still falls. That's the part nobody likes to hear. The falls don't stop, but they change jobs. Too early, too flat, closer. Each one is information now, not evidence. And on a loud Thursday night, the spin comes around, the foot finds the pad, and the smack echoes off the walls. Not a beautiful kick, a real one. Kai looks up, half expecting the room to be watching. It isn't. Across the mat, the rival is mid-air on a kick 2 levels harder, and he crashes out of it, hits the floor, rolls, and resets with his eyes already on his own pad. That's what the ladder actually looks like. At every level, the people climbing it are falling. So remember how this works. Every human who walks was built by thousands of falls. What learning looks like and what learning is are 2 different things. The roughest practice is often the one that lasts, and a beginner aims the struggle by seeing the target, not the leg. Tuesday night, 6:40. A boy lies on a mat, staring up at the ceiling lights. 9 years ago, he lay on a living room floor the same way, between one fall and the next step, and everyone who loved him knew exactly what that moment was. The floor hasn't changed. The falling hasn't changed. Only the word we put on it changed. So the next time you watch a beginner hit the ground, look again. Look closely. You might be watching the oldest kind of learning there is. What if falling was never the opposite of learning? What if it's just how learning looks from the outside?
Tomorrow, give your kid one thing to hit and nothing to think about. When they fall, ask what it taught, not what it proves. Watch what that does to the word failure. If it changed, subscribe. Next, why kids freeze at belt tests. Train the mind first. See you in the next one.